Okay, I'm going to need everybody to look this way. What would entice you to work 20 hours a day, dangerous conditions, without pay, great harm to your physical health, knowing that the job that you did, that the most common end result of that is homicide? What would make a person take a job like that? What would make you take a job like that? Well, I can tell you what has made more than 40 million people, 40.3 million people, according to the most recent labor statistics in September of 2017, according to the International Labor Organization. Coercion, that means being forced to do some work against your will. Fraud, being tricked into a job. Violence, having to do with coercion, but someone threats are coercion. Someone threatening you. Violence is someone harming you, physically harming you. What is it? It's modern day slavery. 40.3 million people. 40.3. In the United States, gentlemen, I'd appreciate if you wouldn't talk or laugh. There's nothing amusing about that. This is my serious side. 40.3. 300,000 children in the United States are in slavery, and that's just one kind of slavery, sex trafficking. Sex trafficking happens here in Fishers, Indiana in the year 2016. 7 kids, students in Hamilton County that the police know about. 7 were rescued. The youngest in Hamilton County was 12, but of the 178 in the state of Indiana, again, that were rescued, one was 7 years old. Oh gosh. Most of you know I taught elementary school for a long, long time, and I taught high school and college before that. That's a 2nd grader. You might know a 2nd grader or two. There are more than 25 different kinds of slavery that are existing, and every last one of you has ties to it. Don't believe me? Go to slaveryfootprint.com and find out how many slaves work for you. Who knows their number? Justice Club, Allison. 67 slaves work for Allison. 54 slaves work for Ben. 85 slaves, wow, Morgan, what you got at your house? 85 slaves work for Morgan. Harper. 54? Do you know?
I did mine like a few days ago.
Wow, you must have a lot of stuff. Listen, I know. It's actually not really a bragging point, but I'm going to ask you to do this in the next week. Preferably by Thursday. I'm going to ask you to go to slaveryfootprint.org, and on your left wrist, write in permanent marker the number of slaves that you have that work for you, because every possession that you have, things that you're wearing today, have something to do with slavery. Things that you eat, we've been through this Justice Club in one of my choirs, all cell phones. Raise your hand, you got a cell phone. Guess what? Don't talk about it. We know you have cell phones. All right. In the Republic of Congo, there are slaves in inhumane conditions, including children, and they are mining the materials used on the inside. They use armed guards. You know what an armed guard is? That's a person with a weapon that will shoot you if you don't do what you're supposed to do. I had that experience once. I was standing when there wasn't East and West Germany. I was 17 years old. I was a giggly, foolish high school student at Carmel High School. I was on a European concert tour. I walked to the edge of East and West Germany, looked up and realized there were guard towers with guns pointed. Only time in my life. I was a Hamilton County girl. I'd never had that. There are children your age and younger that live with this every day. Shrimp farms. Anybody love shrimp? Most of the shrimp and seafood that you eat, you don't have to talk about, you might be allergic, I don't care right now, just talking. Most of the shrimp and the seafood and stuff that you eat was mined by slaves. Some of them, children in chains that are sent down to dive and brought back up. And some of the kids drown because they're down there till they get their quota. That's not going, hey, what's developmentally appropriate for a 7-year-old? Is it okay for a 7-year-old to be missing school and working 20 hours a day or 18 hours a day? Hershey's chocolate. Anybody love Hershey's? Oh, me. Listen, Hershey's. Stop. I don't have time for you to talk. I've got way more information than we've got time. Hershey's has been using child labor in their cocoa farms forever, as long as there's been Hershey. It's the only since the Rainforest Alliance told them they would air a video that showed the child labor and the conditions. But guess what? So does Godiva, so does Nestle, so does Kraft, almost every chocolate brand, unless it has a mark saying, and isn't that crazy? You have to look for a little label that says there's no slavery involved. That means if it doesn't have a label, you're eating stuff that was mined by slaves. All right, your clothes. Did you know that in 2014, I know what I was doing in 2014, what if you would have been in what? 5th grade, 4th grade? A factory fire occurred at a sweatshop where people are locked in and required to perform certain amounts of sewing in a day, and more than 100 people were killed. But the owners said, don't worry, this is just a drill, and they burned to death. Disney was a huge, huge customer, as was Walmart. Electronic devices. Let's see, who's got an iPad? Oh, I do, all of you do. Apple, the most famous electronic company, has ties to a company from China called Foxconn that produces components for many electronic devices made by American companies. Their ongoing labor abuses forcing workers to work 100 hours a week and not paying them and keeping them in prison-like conditions. Gap, anybody wearing Gap? Victoria's Secret, Ralph Lauren, any of those labels? Those are just a few. They were able to cut their production costs and boost profits by using companies that force children to pick their cotton. Let's see. Many companies known to sell clothes made in sweatshops in Bangladesh, where sweatshops use child labor, unsafe working conditions. We already said this. Gap, Victoria's Secret, Pink, Walmart. I think I'm out of time with that. Listen, what can you do about it? One, be aware. Several things that you can do to be aware. I don't think it's possible for us to change everything that we're doing right now. Darlene, I'm over here in case you're confused. I'm over here. Thank you. All right. I'm wearing a shirt that has not for sale, but guess what? What an oxymoron my shirt is. Probably picked by slaves and mined by slaves, but with an anti-slavery campaign. It's impossible to change everything, but awareness does change some things. I heard from a good source that Mr. Foshold has a cell phone that he knows has no connections to slavery. You'll have to ask him about that when you see it. Okay? You can make choices. You can get involved. Here's a way you can get involved. On Thursday, we're having an End It, Read Out game at the girls' basketball game, and I've got a note for you to take home. That you can get a shirt. You can start conversations with people about it. That game here at our school is going to, again, talk about how you can be aware and action steps you can take. A second thing you can do, third. So one is be aware. Two is you can come to the game. Three, we have Hope for Human Trafficking awareness event. That's going to take place across 2 days. Raise your hand if you were already involved in that event. Already involved in that event. Okay, some choirs are singing, dance team is performing, and National Junior Honor Society for the last 4 years, and this would be the 5th year, has provided behind the scenes and during the time assistance. There's a lot of things that we need help with. First of all, the Friday night has Hunter Smith. Anybody know who Hunter Smith is? He's got a Super Bowl ring. Punter for the Indianapolis Colts, former punter. He's now a musician. He's gotten really involved in fighting, especially child labor. He's going to be there singing several of his songs and talking about that. In addition, with all of our activities that we have from our school that are exporting, you can come. That's one. You can sign up on the Sign Up Genius to do some behind-the-scenes work. You can come to my classroom any day and help sort any of the 800 or so T-shirts that are in there in boxes that are waiting to be organized. And look deeply into my eyes. Organization and Mrs. Maney don't go together very well. I need help. Some of you are way smarter than me and more gifted than that. Would love to have your assistance with that. You know what's interesting? Well, I'm thinking about it. Do you know there are more slaves today than there were ever from the start to the finish of the transatlantic slave trade? How many of you think the fact that there were people stolen from their homelands in Africa and the Ivory Coast, all of those places, and taken to Europe and the United States and sold and made to do whatever, how many of you think that was an absolute travesty of justice? A part of our American history you should be ashamed of? I would like to think that every hand would go in the air. All right, listen, more slaves today, and I'm going to tell you something. Back then, you know what a slave sold for? The equivalent of, about $2,000. Do you know what they sell for today? Sometimes as low as $30. But the average rate of a human life is $90. How many of you saw the Liberian auction that was occurring? We watched it on CNN. Students, you see that? Average rate, $90. Average lifespan in slavery, not more than 7. Usually killed or die. You die from all of the stuff that you do. In slavery, in the United States, there are children, and in other countries as well, infants that are in slavery. I don't even want to discuss the kind of slavery that they are. It allows people to hurt them in ways that are evil. There's no other way to say it. That happens here in the United States. My first year teaching, I'm convinced now, I didn't know what the words were, that one of my 8th graders, when I was teaching in Brown County, I know what the teachers told me that she did, and I remember thinking, why? Goodness. I wasn't smart enough, and I didn't have the language to understand that when people do those things, there's a reason. Hamilton Southeastern High School had a student that was trafficked while living in her home the entire school year. Guess what? I bet some of her friends knew, and they didn't say. Some of her teachers probably must have noticed, gosh, what's wrong with her? But maybe they were as ignorant about it as I was when I had that happen back in 1987 and 88. It happens here. It happens here in Fishers. Mrs. Simpson, Maya's mom, told my husband and I that she has personally been involved in placing 15 kids just last year through the Salvation Army. That's only one place that takes kids and goes, you're not staying in that, we're sending you to somewhere safe. My daughter, Lauren Bainey, Mr. Bainey's and my daughter, Lauren Bainey, who's a former Fishers Junior High Charger who started this Hope for Human Trafficking event, currently in her work, where she's almost done with her master's in public health at IU, has a girl on her caseload where she works in Bloomington that was trafficked. And you know what this 15-year-old girl says? I just can't wait to get out of here and marry him because he loves me. I know he made me do these bad things, but he loves me. It's messed up. There's all kinds of trafficking, ladies and gentlemen. The Polaris Project, who's one of the experts in trafficking, cites 25 kinds. It blew my mind to listen to the list, so I'm going to read it to you if I can find it. Here it is. Listen to this. Escort services, illicit massage, health and beauty, outdoor solicitation. That's we were in Chicago, we went to see Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton last week. I cannot even tell you how many people came up to me. Of course, what did I have in my purse? 5s, 10s, and 20s. I gave it all away because I thought, what if they really are? And I pulled this up. How much of that money did they get to keep? I don't know. I still gave it because it wasn't hurting me to give it, and it could possibly hurt them to not have it. Outdoor solicitation, people that stand and hold a sign, some of them are not doing it because they want to. Some of them are like, you better come away with this. You're not leaving this spot until you bring me this amount of money, or I'm going to hurt your child, or I'm going to do this. Did I lose it? There we go. Okay, another one. Residential, different kind of services. Domestic work. In the United States, this has been a very common form of servitude. Somebody will say, I would love to have a girl, maybe 13 or 14, come up from Nambia. We'll have her that, or West Guinea, or Kenya, or something like that, or Egypt. I'll help her. I'll put her to school. She gets here, they take her passport, and she cleans for them. There's story after story after story. Cleaning, raising children, having no life and no education, because nobody really is checking in on her. Bars, strip clubs, and cantinas. Pornography. Another one. Traveling sales crew. When we lived in our big house before we moved to our farm where we have our chickens and ducks and sheep and pigs and all that stuff, in our house in Sedona Woods, in the summer, it was a non-stop parade. People, hey, will you buy these encyclopedias? Hey, will you do this? Sometimes I'd go, it's 97 degrees out here. Do you have any water? No, I'll get some when they come back for me. Who's coming back for you? Well, they'll be back at 8 o'clock. It'll be 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Those kind of sales crews from other countries, people trying to earn a living, often are enslaved. Now, the definition of slavery is very broad because it also includes people that are way underpaid, that are promised, again, coercion, force, threats of violence, fraud. Okay? Those are the things that make slavery. So a person might be getting 65 cents a day, and people could go, oh, they're getting paid. Then is slave labor wages. Got it? Okay, and I don't really use that language since my friend Miles corrected my grammar earlier today, or somebody did. Somebody did. No, it was Marian that corrected my grammar. That's right. Okay, peddling, begging. We talked about that. Restaurants, food services, agriculture, animal husbandry, personal servitude, where somebody online says, I'm going to put this amount of money to see you do this. I want you to go lick a cow's face or something. I don't know, ridiculous things, but somebody makes them do that, okay? Construction, health and beauty services, hotels and hospitality, landscaping, illicit activity, often having to do with drugs, arts and entertainment, commercial cleaning services, factories and manufacturing, remote interactive acts, carnivals, forestry, logging, healthcare and recreational facilities. Those are 25 kinds where we have found massive amounts. Again, 40.3 million people in this world. 300,000 children in the United States alone. Of the 40.3 million people that are in slavery, more than half are women and children. But don't ever forget that boys, and often little boys, are exploited as well. All right, so I've given you some things to do. I've got some things for you to take with you. All right, I've got this information about the Hope for Human Trafficking event. There's 2 nights, March 2nd, March 3rd. All right? We'd love for you to come. You can learn more about it. The evening, again, we've got Stephanie Nancaro, and you know, okay, I've got some people chatting, please quit it. The evening is a little bit lighter, more of an education fair. Again, some people can only go so far when they're learning and getting involved in it. There's no shame in going, you know what? I can only take this amount of information. I've been learning about it for 5 years, since our daughter came home and goes, it blew my mind what I learned, and I'm going to start something in Fishers, Indiana. There were a lot of teachers that were at that very first event. Only 100 people came. Again, this is the 5th year. Now teachers get credit for going. The hospital system provides credit for people going. Social workers, licensed mental health counselors, all of these people. Started by the bossiest girl I've ever met, whose name is Lauren Bainey, who actually asked me after the second one, are you still sorry you taught me to talk? I'm like, yeah, not now that you're using it for good. Before, yes. Okay, so you can come to the event. You can help at the event. You want to know where to sign up? Turn it over. On the bottom, it's got the address for slaveryfootprint.org. You want to help others learn about the issue? 2 places to sign up now. I already got an email from somebody saying, Mrs. Bainey, I tried to sign up in the slot I wanted. I think it was you, Kara. Yeah, the slot I wanted filled. Come anyway. There's going to be so many people there. We'll find a spot for you. There's an awful lot of work to be done before and after and during. We'd love to have you there. Open your minds, open your hearts. I think it was Abraham Lincoln that said, if I would not be a slave, then I can't have a slave. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. But if somebody threatened that they would hurt my children, I'd probably do anything. Even that Mr. Bainey guy, I'd probably do anything to keep them safe. And again, fraud and coercion is one of the ways that they keep control of people. So much, my head is just brimming with facts and things that I want to show you or tell you, but I've got to turn this back over so you can get your t-shirts. How many of you would like to attend the event? Okay, all right, awesome. I forgot to tell you, March 3rd, Saturday, don't start talking, sorry. Again, stay with me. March 3rd is the 2nd day of the event. On that particular day, it starts out with a panel of people that were exploited, 4 women that experienced this here in the United States, here in Indiana even. They're going to talk first. What happened to them when they were kids and when they were adults. Then Tim Swearens. How many of you know who Tim Swearens is? He works for USA Today and the Indy Star. He got a boatload of money to investigate this. The whole human trafficking. He went all around the world and everywhere in the United States too. Because you know what? It's illegal in every country, in every area to have slavery. Hasn't stopped it. Okay, so he's speaking next. Then Senna Maher's mom, who works for the Indiana Trafficking Victims Assistance Program, is going to be last. She's going to back clean up and go, what are we going to do now that we know these things? So that's the next day. There's also assistance needed that day. You can find out, you can log into these different websites and find out about it. It's been all over social media if you want to see that, so I'm going to make sure that we get this, the station things. Last thing, there's an art show every year. There's $750 worth of prizes this year for the art show. Last year there was $500 worth of prizes. We only had high school last year, but we're opening it up to the junior high. If any of you are artistic, it's due in a week, but some of you crank out some pretty amazing stuff. If you want that, I'm going to put it on the table for you to pick up. Last thing, there's a fashion show. Sign-ups outside my room if you want to wear clothes that were not made or touched by slaves, that were made by former people that were in the slave trade, that have been taught a living wage. They're making Vera Bradley style bags and all sorts of clothes. If you're interested in that, all of that will happen Friday night. Sign up, and I'm going to meet with people during Best in the Choir Room tomorrow. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention.